Hey guys, I'm Samantha and welcome to a new video. I'm here to do my January wrap up for the month. I actually got quite a bit read in the month of January, more than I had actually expected to read. I got 13 books read in total. The first book being Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, and this was a reread for me. I had started it like later in 2021, I believe. With it being a reread, I just kept the rating at it where it was. I annotated my own paperback copy. Book 2 is Shatter Me by Tahar Mafi. This was the January pick for the late night bookworming book club that I am a co-host of. I believe I gave this 4 stars, and you'll hear more about my thoughts and opinions in the live show that is supposed to be on February 5th on Katie's Kit Kats Can Reads channel. Obviously I marked some points, so I have some thoughts about this book. This is a dystopian sci-fi novel that follows a young girl, Juliet, who has a touch that's fatal, that nobody knows why that her touch is fatal, but the reestablishment has plans for her and is planning to use her as a weapon. But she ends up discovering her own strength to fight back against the reestablishment and finds a group of like-minded individuals that feel the same way. Third book is a NetGalley e-arc that I had the pleasure of reviewing, and it is Good Shit, Your Holistic Guide to the Best Poop of Your by Julia Blonenberger. This was just a whim. I thought the concept of the book was pretty funny, and I just had started it while I was waiting at the doctor's office of all places, so I decided to check it out. The next book, book number 4, Knitting Wizardry, 27 Spellbinding Projects by Amy Clark Moore. Technically, I haven't really been reading this book. I've been working a lot of the knitting patterns from this book, but I also have the unofficial Harry Potter Knits magazine that I'm mostly working from, but I got this ebook version of it whenever I forget the actual magazine copy, and I am working at trying to work on my projects and need the instructions. I believe I gave that one 5 stars, and the NetGalley book I gave like 3 stars, I believe. Book 5 is Southeast Medicinal Plants, Identify, Harvest, and Use 106 Wild Herbs for Health and Wellness by Corey Pine Shane. This was another NetGalley arc that I got that's a really good resource if you are in the south east of the U.S. and you are into herbalism and foraging and things like that. With me getting into witchcraft this past year, I am really interested in the properties and how to identify the different herbs so I can use them in my practice. And this book really comes in handy. It gives you clear pictures of how to identify the plants and where exactly to kind of keep an eye out for them, and what you can use them for, like medicinal uses as well. Book 6 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I listened to this as an audiobook from my library, and I really did enjoy this. I gave it a 4 stars. Just the main annoying gripe that most people have with it being kind of the miscommunication trope that's in most romances did get kind of obvious and was kind of annoying, so it did knock it down a star. But the narrator of the audiobook did a really awesome job with it, so I definitely am excited to continue on with the series. Book 7 is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This was another audiobook that I had listened to. It also, I believe, got a 4 star. I definitely like this one a lot better than Final Girl Support Group that I read last year. This is an earlier book of Grady Hendrix's. It's a YA horror that follows a girl who is trying to help her friend get out of the clutches of a demon, as the title suggests. Most people know what this book is about, so I won't go into very much detail about it. I definitely did enjoy the audiobook when I listened to it. The narrator also did a really awesome job. The next book is The Dante Club by Matthew Pearl. I read this in preparation of a thriller vlog that I am currently recording. I gave this book 3 stars. It is a historical fiction thriller that follows a group of men in the, I believe it's the 1865 in Boston, who are part of a literary group called the Dante Club, as they're translating Dante's Inferno from Italian into English to bring it to the American public, to enlighten them in the poet's work. And there happens to be a murderer or serial killer going on using Dante's Inferno as inspiration for the killings, and they are taking it upon themselves to try to figure out who is doing that so they can save their Dante Club from being removed from their college program as a class that they teach. It's a really interesting concept for this book. My only gripe with it is just I don't know if it was just the pacing of the book and the way the language was really made the book drag for me. That was my main complaint. It was the reason why I just got 3 stars, because it took me much longer than it should have taken me, just based on how normally I tend to go through books. It was a good book. I do recommend it if you're into historical fiction type thrillers. It definitely has an interesting concept, but I don't think it's going to be a series that I'll continue if the rest of the books have the same pacing as this one. Next book is Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez. This was in a NetGalley arc that I had gotten for review. It is a graphic novel that follows a young boy who just graduated from college with a writing degree, and he's trying to find a copy editing job out in the real world, but he's not having the greatest luck, and he stumbles upon a restaurant that he decides to work at as a kind of a part-time gig until he finds something new, but he ends up falling in love with the cooking world. And it was definitely a really cute book. I gave it 4 stars. I definitely highly recommend it. It is a LGBT plus representative book. His main character is gay, so there is a romance aspect to the book itself, so if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. Next is The Hat Makers by Townsman Merchant. This was the middle grade monthly pick for January. I really enjoyed it. This, I believe, is a debut of Townsman Merchants, where it follows a young girl, Cordelia, as she tries to find a way to save her father, who her family is believed to be lost at sea. And she comes from a long line of magical makers who make hats. There are other makers in the world that are tasked with the job of creating peace garments to help the princess try to avoid war with France. And you will follow Cordelia's long journey with trying to help her family accomplish that, along with having to find the truth about what happened to her father. I gave this book 4 stars. It definitely was a really cute and magical story. It did have really good aspects of bringing in actual witchcraft knowledge. By when they're crafting the items, they use the different properties for the different materials to create the hats, and it brings together the different aspects of what the hat is supposed to do, so I definitely appreciated that. And it was, I believe this is supposed to be a duology from what Gavin was saying, and I do believe the Map Makers is supposed to come out this year as well. Next book I have is Angel of Death by Sylvia Rugg. This is another NetGalley arc. It's a graphic novel, like a mystery, that follows a girl who is arrested for the murder of her sister, her twin sister, and her mother, and it goes into like what caused her to like snap and to kill her family members, and it just shows how she grew up and what all led up to that. And I believe I gave this one 4 stars. The artwork of it is really beautiful. This was originally translated from French, I believe. It's definitely a really beautiful graphic novel, so I highly suggest checking it out. Next one is another NetGalley arc, which is The Way Forward from Early Republic to People's Republic by Jing Liu. This is a graphic novel, a nonfiction graphic novel that I believe it's the 5th volume in the series. I wasn't aware of it until I had gotten approved of it, but this just kind of highlights of the things that happened in the country of China between, I believe it's World War I to the end of World War II, and things like that. It just highlights the main key points of the history of that country. I did give it 3 stars. It seemed like they left out a lot of information, or they could have went in a little bit more to my tasting. I wanted a little bit more information that didn't quite highlight in the book. A lot of it is just stuff that I had already heard about from school. I was just expecting a little bit more, learning more about that time of the Chinese history and stuff. But I definitely do recommend this as a good nonfiction start if you're not familiar with what happened in that country during that time. And the last book I read for the month is Night Games by R.L. Stine. This is Fear Street number 40. I had read this book many times when I was younger. I rated that one at 3 stars. It follows a girl and her teen friends as they start sneaking out at night and roaming around their neighborhood to get into mischief, and things don't pan out how they are wanting to, which is kind of expected to be with the Fear Street novels. They're going to be, they're more mature definitely than the Goosebumps books, and they have a little bit more substance to it, but I did find it really predictable, and there was a lot of cliff baiting to get to the next chapters, like the way that he ended the one chapter. He made it seem like something terrible happens, and then at the start of the next chapter it ends up not being as terrible as the character was expecting it to be, and just leading you on with there is really kind of a cheesy way of leading the reader on to finish the book. This is another book that I had started reading for my thriller vlog that will come out later, hopefully later in the month. We'll see how fast I can get the other books read, but those are the 13 books I read for January. Leave a comment below and let me know what you guys have read for the month of January and what you plan on reading for February. I have some ideas of what I want to do for a possible future TBR video. I'm not sure exactly if I want to get into that quite yet. I'm still hashing out the details, so keep your eyes peeled, and leave me a like if you like this video, and subscribe to keep up to date with any new videos I have in the future, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.